Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to the very last panel of the very first OrbitCon. This is, what is it actually called? I keep referring to it as the punchy post-mortem. I think we titled Wrapping It Up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is just us, those of us at the Orbit and our folks from Free Thought Blogs who helped us host panels may pop in. And we're just here really to talk about how things went. And I have no idea how things went because I was running it. And I just don't make memories. I took notes, but they were super practical and kind of boring, and that's not the point of this. So how was everybody's con?
It was good. It was
I
good.
had a great time.
No, you go first. You go ahead.
Sorry, I had a great time doing it this time. I'm glad I had the idea I had. And it's an interesting experience, yeah, being on the moderator side of things for the first time.
Hey, PZ.
Hello, secret overlord of all things atheist that's obviously pulling our strings, Puppet Master.
Did I miss some drama?
What do you mean?
I like how Jason's saying this when we all literally have strings.
Yeah, we swim in drama.
Okay. I just thought I might have missed something specific. Some new term we would have to make graphics for or something.
I think they've still latched onto Outrage Brigade for that one.
I like Agents of Chaos myself. That one, I'm really sticking with that one.
Nice.
Yeah.
Agents of Chaos. Wow, that's like we report directly to Loki and Eris. Nice.
Report.
Buttons. All the true Agents of Chaos have some.
You and your button.
Yeah, it's very handy.
All the true agents of chaos who were in DC last weekend.
Yes.
Wow. All the true Agents of Chaos were in DC last weekend. What are you talking about?
I know a couple of people who were in Milwaukee who might argue with you.
Oh, okay. We'll accept that.
Yeah.
Thank you, nobody managed to wrangle all the Agents of Chaos to one place.
And of course, a bunch of them will be at Secular Women Work too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
These Agents of Chaos are surprisingly well organized.
Oh, you've been behind the scenes in these things before. You know it's total chaos.
It is.
Yeah, with the ducks with the paddling like the Dickens under the water.
So we were just kind of talking about how everybody's con went. Greta, how was yours?
Mine was good. I didn't see as many sessions as I would have liked to, but I saw a bunch. Yeah, no, it was good. Some really interesting content. I like the online format. I mean, for the obvious reason, which is that people can participate in it from everywhere, and it's very, low cost, et cetera, et cetera. But I also like that it has a more casual vibe to it. It's the panels are, they weren't unfocused. They were, very on topic. But there's a more just sort of people just talking from the heart and thinking out loud, more so than you usually get from panels at conferences. So I really like that aspect of it. It felt more personal, more direct.
How about you, Jason?
I definitely agree with Greta that the ones that held my interest the most were the panels where people were playing off of what each other was saying, like very rapid back and forth, as long as it was still audible. I mean, like within reason. But the ones with the largest amount of preparation, as much as I love that there was that mix, that there was some that were very well prepared, those ones didn't hold my attention as well as the ones where people were literally just riffing off of each other. I think I'm here for the people, really.
Says the guy who added an impromptu panel at the end of the evening last night.
Which was great, by the way. We were transfixed by the Steven Universe conversation. It was really great.
It's just not a convention unless there are people in the hallways talking about their big feels about Steven Universe. So,
and how about you, Peasy? We didn't pin you down for a lot this time because you were helping out, but
I didn't help much, and that was perfect. It was a lazy man's conference, so I didn't have to do anything too strenuous. I pushed some buttons. I let Sarah Levin inform me, and I just sat there and accepted it. And then tuned into a couple of panels afterwards. So I just got back from the what is it called? The secular super social. What a super social justice. Yes,
social justice. Yeah,
they're super serious.
Yeah. Actually,
Jason's description, it was
nice. One of the things that I really enjoyed and kind of did deliberately this time was we didn't load people up quite the way that we had with Free Thought blogs. And as much as I love as how ambitious all the FTB cons were, I came out of those exhausted for days. And I am actually less tired on this one. And I did most of the behind the scenes organizing because I wanted to test out some differences. So,
well, I think this kind of thing benefits from being focused and small. There's no reason to make a 5-day a day. Just keep it light and easy. It's fun.
Yeah, people were actually really upset by my memory for FTBcon's dual track setup. The fact that there were 2 tracks, they couldn't watch things that they wanted to watch in real time. They couldn't participate in the QA on both panels at the same time. I'm like, quitters, just set up 2 TVs.
Hey, Brian. Hi. I'm just going to warn you on this panel, you're going to have to stop being super serious.
I will do my best.
I just called you because I stopped like mid-word. I'm sorry.
How was your con, Brienne?
How was my con? It was good. I am so glad that everything's on YouTube because there are so many panels I was not present for when they were live, but I'm really looking forward to going and watching those. So, the tech stuff, you guys did such a great job with the advice for participants and hosts. I was able to work through almost everything. And the time I thought I was doing something wrong and that the instructions weren't sufficient, it was because my guest was using Firefox. So it was totally all on their end. So good job on getting those well written and sent out.
There was one really weird oddity that we used to have lower thirds for everybody, and we tried really hard to make sure that everybody could do it. This year, the only people who managed to get lower thirds working, and it was consistent, it was people using Safari on a Mac. I tried out Safari on Windows for one person, and it didn't work. So,
yeah, we're going to have to keep an eye on Hangouts because they keep supporting less and less and less of it. I mean, you'd think that it would work best on Chrome because Chrome, but no.
And Google, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, if you were going to change anything about how OrbitCon ran, what would you change?
Comments. That would be the big one. If there was a better way to field comments from viewers.
Yeah, I think so.
It just wasn't convenient. I mean, it worked. It was there, and I was able to gather one comment for Greta and Bria's panel, but it was not the easiest thing to do. It wasn't smooth. And I don't have any suggestions because that seems like it's a techie thing, and I don't know.
Okay, but I'm going to put you guys on fixing that, just so you know.
Mm-hmm.
because that's how it works.
You
Speaking
mentioned
of
it.
which,
No
does
problem.
anybody else have anything they want to change?
Probably better publicity, letting more people know about it ahead of time, but that's always an issue, especially at the conference. So, it's not so much like we did this terribly and mea culpa, but I think next time, more promotion ahead of time, probably a good idea.
I wonder if it might not be worthwhile to promote it afterward. Like, I kind of want to put up a banner ad that says, missed OrbitCon? No, you didn't.
I like this plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can make that happen.
Huh? But
So PZ,
yeah, anyway,
when are you guys going to do another Free Thought Blogs FTB Conscience?
Ooh. All the people who were deeply involved in FTBCon before left us to go to the orbit, so it makes it a little trickier.
But you have lots of new people now.
Yeah. Besides, I'd rather you guys did all the work behind the scenes and we just participated.
I see.
I told you, lazy, right? That's all I'm looking for is the easiest possible path. And you're providing it.
Set the expectations low. That way, when you fail to deliver, it's no big deal.
Okay, I have run out of moderation. Somebody else take over.
I have a question for people. If you were on a panel or did a presentation, is there anything that you wish you had said, like something that you forgot to say or something that you thought of afterwards? So this is basically going to be the mishmash of ideas from every panel. But is there, because I certainly have one or two, and I'm wondering if other people do as well. Is there something you really wish you had said that there just wasn't time for, or that you forgot to say, or you didn't think of until afterwards?
The only panel I was on was the Secular Women Work one. And I have been talking about that on podcasts for like a month and a half. So I have no idea what I actually said on the panel. I'm sure I missed stuff though. Hello.
Hi, Gora. This is why I put you in the bedroom for my panel.
No, this is very important. There would be more cocktail on your panel if you had a chance.
We did have at least one dog on a panel. Actually, two dogs on a panel.
Yep, Olivia's cat made prominent appearances in ours. Yeah.
There we go.
No, I'm kind of sad the show off our pets panel didn't actually happen.
I would actually love to see if anybody has the bandwidth to do this. I would love to see just a montage of all of the moments in all of the panels when somebody's cat walked in off the background.
Yeah, Heather Lee's cat made an appearance too. Yeah.
Yep, mine did.
There's gotta be super cut of this stuff waiting to happen.
I'm afraid I had to physically throw out our cat because we have an evil cat, and she started knocking things off of the desks here. So
sounds like cat being cat to me.
Yeah. Okay.
You need to figure out how to divide your attention so you can give about 30% of it to the panel and the rest to the cat.
I'm thinking
Definitely how that
there's got to be a market for cat handcuffs. So just hobble them and throw them in the corner.
Wow.
So you're still trying to get somebody to take that cat, huh, Peasy?
No, we eventually gave up and we formalized the adoption of the cat. So she's ours. We're stuck with her.
The best part about this is that regardless of how sarcastic you're being, because you deadpanned it, the pitters tomorrow will all be PZ advocates cat abuse.
Only for evil cats, which apparently is all cats. But
Greta, did you have something in mind with your question?
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, although I do want to hear if other people have that. Yeah, the sort of the big thing that I wish I had said on the burnout discussion I had with Priya, which is really great. But I think the big thing that I wish I had said that I didn't was if you're burning out or are burned out, one thing that is okay to do and that helps a lot is to focus your work on on the aspect of work that you really like to do. Like if you're a writer and you're burned out, it's fine to write about just whatever the fuck you feel like writing about. If you're doing a lot of speaking, it's fine to go to conferences because they're in cities that you like or there are people there who you want to see. It is totally legitimate when you're burning out to focus on the aspects of your work that are just personally pleasurable to you. And it can feel selfish, but one thing, as Bria says, even if it is selfish, so fucking what? You have a right to some pleasure. And also it can reconnect you with the aspects of your work that can remind you why you actually like this goddamn work. Ingrid and I went to the Secular Social Justice Conference, and of course I wasn't speaking because I'm white, and it's all non-white speakers there. But we were like, we are so burned out on this movement. We're so fucking sick of this movement. We just want to set fire to it all the time. And some of that is that there's legitimate terrible things about the movement, but some of that is that I'm just really burned out, and Ingrid is really burned out on it as well. And so we're like, we're going to go to this thing because that's where the people are that we love, and that's where the topics are being discussed that we care about. So that is totally legit. If you're burning out, focus on the aspects of your work that you care about, and that you find pleasurable. What about other people? I want to know if there was stuff that you wish you had said or forgot to say or whatever that you didn't.
Thank you.
Not for my panel. I think we kind of slid into that end of that 4:58 mark, just having run out of comments. So I think that we were able to get in everything we wanted. I don't think there were a lot of loose threads that I wanted to get across.
Yeah, and again, I just did the one, so I probably could talk about it for a whole bunch of more time, but I got to tell the story of Jen Bean saving our butts when the toilet overflowed, which she wasn't even organizing the conference, but boy, she stepped up. And organize the conference. I probably really didn't emphasize just how much fun something like secular women work is. That was something Jen mentioned later. She was on a couple of CFI panels as well. And, when you're doing something like this and you get a bunch of people together who are doing the same kinds of things, and you all get to geek out about the weird little bits of what you're doing as an activist that nobody else understands. There's a weird kind of magic in that. And, even when what you're doing that nobody else understands is laughing at how pitifully people are trying to harass you and failing and demonstrating that they devote way, way, way more of their lives to you than you do to them. Being and getting to talk with people who get that is pretty cool.
Yep.
Also, at one point, I got to watch people cross-country ski outside my window, down the street, pulling a sled with kids in the middle of a panel today. And somehow I managed to not mention that. Because we have been having a blizzard here for the last 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
It's still gusting outside. I have to go
Yeah.
plow after this. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Freezing
original
rain hit
plan
Ottawa
was.
today.
Oh, yeah. The original plan was to have Brienne come over here because she's done that for the FTB cons, and then it's just kind of a big household party.
I
But-
did it though. I succeeded. I haven't left my house all weekend.
Yes, that is wise.
Mhm.
So I have a comment and a question for people, which is the comment is a compliment to everybody, because we kind of had this bomb dropped in the movement right before the conference.
Mhm.
And some of us knew that this was coming, and I think maybe some people didn't. And so even those of us who did know that the bomb was coming didn't know exactly when it was going to be happening. And I'm talking, of course, about the BuzzFeed article about David Silverman being fired for financial malfeasance and sexual assault. And so I want to compliment people because I think we really rolled with it. You know, we folded it in where it was appropriate. We talked about it where it was appropriate. But we also just, you know, I mean, I know for me, I was like delivering the opening remarks and I was like getting ready to take some final notes, and then the story came out and was like, okay, I guess I'm not taking final notes. I guess I'm just completely 100% doing this. Because for just one thing, some of what I have to say is going to be changed. And I think that a lot that people, considering that this huge thing was unfolding in our community while we were trying to put this on, I think we did a very good job. And so I want to thank people for that, and also just ask what was people's experience of that. You know, it's like trying to do this conference while at the same time, you know, this, oh, and we have a kitty situation about to happen while this was happening. Hi, Comet has very strong opinions about this.
I hate to say it, but my feeling was it's happening again. It's old stuff. I'm getting used to it. So I guess it's a kind of a burnout over the news that we are constantly getting in this movement.
For me, it was one of those things that made me really glad that we had been building something on our own. That none of us were dependent on AACon to be able to say what we had to say. Not that many of us had ever necessarily gotten invited to AACon, and a lot of the people who we had doing this were not the kinds of folks who were going to get featured there, in part because they're activists rather than celebrities, and sometimes just because they're people, well, because they're geeks. We had this number of panels where it was geeks geeking out about a particular topic. But also because we actually criticize stuff. And so in a lot of ways, we had built, we'd built a conference that was really independent of everything else that was happening in the movement. Even as we had people from the rest of the movement taking part in it. And you know, that's something I'm really pretty proud of.
That just makes us solidly in the outrage brigade, though, to most of the commentariat. That we're outside, and therefore all we do is poo-poo what other people do. Yet,
yeah, I defy anybody to look at our schedule and say that and then not run away so we can't argue with them.
Right.
I mean, there are plenty of them who are going to say it, but then they're going to run away and not let us argue.
Right. These are the people who are literally just poo-pooing us for decades at a time.
Well, in responding to what Peasy said, I mean, I share your experience. You know, it's a, you know, I mean, some of it is that I've known about the thing about Silverman for a long time, but also there's a certain, like, you know, oh my God, this again. You know, it's and there is this, you know, sense of being numbed out, you know, and burned out. But there's a, you know, silver lining in that cloud of shit, which is we know how to deal with it. You know, we have experience with this, and we know the kinds of things people are going to say in response. We know the kinds of things people are going to do in response, and you know, and so we, you know, we're seasoned veterans, and so we know how to deal with it, and that's a, you know, that's a, you know, plus. To the degree that there's any sort of plus in that situation.
We also know what to expect in the near future. So, you know, David Silverman has now posted a Facebook post where he denies everything.
Mm-hmm.
That was predictable. He's got hordes of commenters who are all saying, rah, rah, Dave, we're with you. You're getting railroaded just like Krauss was. You know, it's...
I mean, both the innocent and the guilty are going to do that.
Yeah.
You can't judge that a person isn't going to do that kind of thing if they don't also genuinely believe that they're innocent. It's just they don't generally, I mean, for the most part, with the exception of maybe Bora, admit that they had done something wrong to begin with. I can't remember the last big Me Too type event that we've had in our communities where the person has outright said, yeah, I mistreated this person. I thought it went a different way, but apparently I mistreated them and I'm sorry. Can any of you think of? Because I'm at a loss.
Well, there's the alleged person who said they allegedly acknowledged that they did some of the thing, and then, you know, but still they've been horribly done wrong by, and but yeah, but that is different. And it does seem as if, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, it's, you know, there definitely is the, as PC said, the very predictable denialism, and we know all the forms of denialism, and of course it's especially distressing, although at this point predictable, that to see skeptics and atheists do the kind of denialism that they can take apart when creationists are doing it or global warming denialists are doing it, and yet they engage in it themselves. So that's distressing. It does seem as if the explosion, the sort of denialist explosion, is smaller than it's been in the past. You know, people are, you know, when the Shermer stuff started to come out, it was much bigger and much uglier. And then when the Krauss thing came out, it was still big and ugly, but smaller than the Shermer thing. When the Silverman came out, it seems like it was still big and ugly, but smaller still. And, you know, and certainly institutions are responding differently than they have in the past. So it's, you know, I'm trying to maintain something that vaguely resembles optimism, you know, that it's, you know, we're nowhere near where we need to be on this stuff, but it is getting maybe not better, but less bad. But it could also be I've blocked most of the people who are terrible, so it could be that there is some really terrible shit happening and I'm just not seeing it. So what are other people's perceptions of that?
I'm seeing more with Krauss because most of the Silverman stuff has happened this weekend, so I haven't seen it yet. But one of the things that I noticed with that is a lot of people who were fighting us tooth and nail for years who were like, oh, I guess that's bad. I mean, no, that's really bad. Of course it's bad. I'm not going to say I was ever wrong about it not being bad, but it's really bad. So I am definitely seeing a lot of shifts and not a lot of people. Unfortunately, I think reconsidering how they came to their conclusions, which I get. I get it's hard to say you're wrong, and I get it's hard to say, in particular, I was wrong about you, sorry.
Or I was wrong about you for a literal decade.
Yeah.
But they're never gonna say you were. They're never gonna say you were right. They're gonna say, "Oh yeah, sure, this guy was bad, but you jumped the gun, and you shouldn't have said those things, and you've been wrong, and you are still wrong, and I still hate you." That's the way it's going to be.
Yep. But we know, and we'll remind you.
Or you get like Hemet Meta, who posts this this thing about Silverman as congratulating the brave women who, and it's like, yeah, fuck you, you've been trolling us for years. So now you're going to congratulate us, and I'm glad that that you aren't being a denialist about this particular thing. But yeah, I mean, as Stephanie says, it's it is expecting people to say, "Boy, I was wrong for the last 10 years," is not even in a community that supposedly values admitting what we're wrong. Hi, welcome to Alex. Hello.
Hello. Yeah, I've been a spectator for the whole con, but I decided just to pitch in here. Just because you were talking about Silverman and Me Too and all of that, and I have opinions. Also, I need to message Alyssa about stuff, and I will. I'm being really bad, but I will. So, yeah, just... no worries. I saw the Silverman article at BuzzFeed at the same time as everybody else. I'm still I did not know about any of that stuff, so I'm still absorbing that. Just on the issue of his denial on Facebook, I just had a look, just out of curiosity, and I'm getting a little bit of schadenfreude from the fact that the immediate previous post just under that is just one of those life updates saying, left job at American Atheists. I'm slightly enjoying that. I know it's a crap situation, but yeah, I don't know. I did know about the Lawrence Krauss stuff for actually 5 years before now, which was a bit of a weight, the kind that other people have described holding. And do you know what? It's so striking. I've because I've been burnt out on atheism stuff for a while, and I'm just starting to be unburnt out now. But just to look at the contrast, even in Hollywood, with Harvey Weinstein, when the stuff came out about him, I know his lawyers are still saying stuff, but he, I think, issued some kind of statement, and he's now in therapy. And there have been similar stuff, I think, from other people who've been prominent actors and so on and had those accusations. And it's really something, isn't it, to be in atheism, skepticism, all of that, and to look at the people in our community and think, these are people who have shown less class than Harvey Weinstein when accused. No, I mean, actually verifiably, just on an empirical level, which I'm sure you'd appreciate. Just to look at 10 pages of denial that Lawrence Krauss posted, and to think, wow, you really actually... It's not even the fact that they're denying it. It's the fact that even if you go with what Lawrence Krauss seems to want people to think, which is that something on the order of 20 people have decided independently to lie about him, I could go with that for the sake of argument, but it's not just that. It's the fact that he seems to think people are going to believe that if he just says so. It's the fact that his statement, and this is true for any number of other men in atheism that have had this happen, it's the idea that seems to come across in these things that, being publicly libeled by a number of people separately over a period of years for no other motive than wanting to libel a celebrity, it's just a completely ordinary claim that you could make. People would just decide to do that, and you could just say that you're being libeled by all of those people for no reason, and that's not something that needs any further discussion or explanation.
Yeah,
of course
it's
not.
so obvious that everybody is making it up for the sake of celebrity or for the sake of really, really wanting thousands of death threats.
Mm-hmm.
Well, really, we straight white men are the most confident people on the planet. So, of course, you're going to believe us. Yeah.
And it's
Well, of
almost...
course- No, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, it's like, the unfortunate reality is that there are a non-trivial number of people who are going to accept that denial as, and, people who already liked him, people who are already, deeply invested in not believing, not only claims about their hero, but who are deeply invested in not believing any of this stuff, who are not deeply invested in not acknowledging that we live in a rape culture, not acknowledging how widespread and common sexual harassment, sexual assault, and rape are. Those people, they are going to believe it. They are going to say, well, multiple victims coming for, multiple victims having reports, those victims being corroborated by people they told the story to. Other examples of publicly seen behavior that isn't assault, but that's consistent with with assault. We're not going to call that evidence. That's not evidence. But the guy saying I didn't do it, that's evidence, and we're going to believe it. And unfortunately, there are people who are going to accept that because they're highly motivated to do so. But it is true that those numbers are shrinking, and more people, and especially more people in power are believing this. So that's that's a good thing. But yeah, it is, and especially it is again among deceased skeptics. Be so bad at skepticism, be so bad at looking at evidence and what is reasonable evidence, and it's it's a little bit distressing, but whatever.
I would be happier if.
Sorry, go ahead.
I would be happier if we weren't also seeing that from that bad skepticism, I guess, from people who are agreeing that this has probably happened, because there are a number of things that people are saying in terms of accepting things that also aren't reasons to accept the claims. Somebody is not more likely to, for example, sexually assault somebody because you don't like the way they look, or because you don't like the way they atheist, because they're new atheists or something. There may be some, small correlations with who finds certain atheist groups appealing. But, we've been saying for years that, yeah, you really do find this stuff everywhere. And some of the people who we have had to accept are serial harassers are people we've liked rather a lot. It hasn't been all that long since both PZ and I had to deal with that, with one of his former science blogs colleagues, who did a really good job of being a great guy to a lot of people, did a really good job of camouflaging the fact that he was harassing people with less power and less prestige. And so as we see these people saying, in one way or another, yeah, everybody should have known, that's just not how this works. The only thing that really, well, there are two things really that tie into a higher likelihood of sexual harassment and assault. And one of them is hostile sexism. And the other one is pushing boundaries and breaking rules in other small ways that aren't necessarily sexual harassment or assault. Those are your tells. Anything else, you're making it up. And it probably makes you feel better, and I get that, but it's still not true.
I've been kind of wondering if there's a bit of a availability heuristic going on in some of these skeptics where they are not personally being assaulted at every con, and therefore that is not available to them when they think about this. And they do see prominent people being accused of sexual harassment and also denying it, and that is available to them. And they don't know the people who are involved. I've seen so many people who are like, oh, this is obviously true because I'm friends with the person who made the claim, to back up the person who made the claim, that I wonder if it's simply that these skeptics are incapable of actually putting themselves in the shoes of the person that they don't know, as opposed to the person that they know. So there's a lot of halo effect there where they know Krauss from his writings and therefore he's a good guy, from his public whatevers, his talks and such. Therefore he's a good guy, but they don't know all of these unknown women. Look at how much hay was made over Stormy Daniels, just because she's a porn star, and most of the people hearing the claim knew Donald Trump but didn't know Stormy Daniels.
They don't watch enough porn, apparently.
Apparently.
Which makes me wonder if people who watch a lot of porn are statistically more likely to believe her.
Okay.
No, actually, you get the highest rates of porn consumption in some of the most conservative states.
Oh, right.
And that's where Trump's support is highest. So it is unlikely.
Also, plenty of people who consume porn are still contemptuous of the people who make it and perform in it. So, unfortunately.
Which is an absolute shame. They're consuming them as objects instead of as people.
Another factor too, though, is that look at all the leadership of the atheist movement who are sticking their heads in the sand over these issues. So nobody none of the big honchos were speaking out about Shermer, about Krauss, Harris. He was ridiculous on the matter of Krauss. And we're not seeing anybody else speaking out about Silverman now.
Well, obviously it's because those big men already have fame, and you only speak out about big men who are sexually harassing if you want fame.
Climbing the ladder. Yeah.
I mean, there's part of me that is really glad that they're not talking, because a lot of these guys seem incapable of just saying, oh, that's bad, don't do that. A lot of them seem to have to suddenly build up some big theory of sexual harassment and assault and Me Too and the movement and tie it all together and give us a dissertation in something that they didn't really even start thinking about until 5 minutes ago when they read a piece in BuzzFeed. Oh, also, they have to tell us how bad BuzzFeed is.
Oh, yes.
So, if more of them could simply say, ugh, yeah, I'd be happier. But sometimes I don't mind silence.
It can also backfire on us because, look, Silverman was pretty good about speaking out against Mythcon and against slime pitters and all those sorts of things, which makes it an even bigger betrayal when we find this sort of stuff out about him.
Yeah, there's at least one troll that's claiming that he had been cozying up to the SJWs lately, and that's an obvious tell that he was,
oh, right.
Yeah, he was a misogynist abuser of people, specifically because he'd been cozying up to SJWs. Really?
Yeah, and apparently Sargon of Akkad has put out a video where he declares that alt-right people never commit rape. Always the leftists.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
actually, I can give a little insight on Silverman cozying up to people. I mean, he's done that a couple of times in recent history. The first was when his book came out. He started liking everything on Twitter from people who might be in a position to promote his book. And the other was when he started realizing that there were some folks in the movement who were very not interested in talking to him or dealing with him. And frankly, they were largely the people he should expect to have some idea what he did.
Yeah.
No, and Silverman has played both ends against the middle for a long time. You know, it's like he has talked a good game. It certainly isn't recently that he, you know, started cozying up to social justice advocates. You know, he was when the you know, explosion over having codes of conduct at conferences first happened. You know, he was one of the first ones to say, "Oh, to get a code of conduct," and to be very public about it. You know, and he's at the same time, he went to CPAC. He went to the not just, you know, and CPAC is not just a conservative action conference, political action conference. It's a hard right political action conference. It's basically the fascist conference. And he was perfectly happy to go there and recruit atheists and crow about, isn't it great that I got, you know, it's like there are people there who are like maybe now going to be part of the movement. It's like, no, we don't want those people, you know. And he was very vocal for some time about how abortion should not be an atheist issue. You know, that abortion was not one of the issues that we should be concerning ourselves with. So he's been basically the weather vane. You know, he's been, you know, trying to play both ends against the middle, trying to which is weird because he's such a confrontationalist, but he's been trying to please everybody, and sort of go where the weather seems to be going. And you know, right now, you know, woke is cool, and resistance is cool, and so you know, he's been going in that direction more. You know, those of us who have been familiar with him for a long time know that, sure, he talks that game, but also he went to CPAC and he's been saying abortion isn't important for atheists, and also he's a sexual assailant. So, you know, it's not like this is, it's, you know, it's not simply a matter of person who's, you know, covering their tracks by social justice advocacy, although that certainly is a thing. You know, and he's not, you know, there have been some people who have been much stronger on social justice who have turned out to be assailants or harassers. You know, but it's, you know, he's been just trying to, I don't know, I'm repeating myself. He's been playing both ends against the middle on this for a long time. And those of us who've been watching for him a long time have been aware of this.
Total agreement on that. We've had more than our fair share of wolves in sheep's clothing.
Mm-hmm.
Just, I don't know. I don't know if there's anybody else here. Maybe I missed an earlier part of this hangout. I'm wondering if anybody else here wants to talk about stuff that's not horrible.
Yes.
So I'm just gonna, volunteer that, like, it's been a while since we've actually seen each other visually, so I just want to let you know, Jason, that you're looking particularly furry tonight, and I'm very into it.
It's the end of the con. I decided time for the hood and the
For
this is the house coat.
Is the beard new?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I'm happy to be representing the furries, even though I'm not one of your kin.
Well, I sort of am, but that's a relatively new realization for me. I think I watched so much BoJack Horseman, and I realized that my feelings about Mr. Peanut Butter were not incidental. And then I realized I kind of have a type. Like, it's boys who are a little bit dog.
I was going to say, you have a type, what, Labradors?
No, it's not Labradors. It's him. By which I mean, like, like sort of, I read an interview with I forget the person's name, but the creator of BoJack, who I believe may be one herself, but I'm just saying, like, if there were 6-foot sentient anthropomorphic yellow Labradors that were muscular, I'd probably be quite into that.
Not to mention that the fact that despite Mr. Peanut Butter's obliviousness, he tries really hard to be a really kind person.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and he's a really good dog. Believed by everything.
They're all good dogs. What are you talking about?
A+ wood squish.
So in the interest of talking about things that aren't horrible and also bringing it back to the conference, I would like to know. I'd like to ask people what was one of your favorite things? What was one of your favorite panels? What was one of your favorite discussions? What was one of your favorite moments in the conference? You know, what did you like about it?
I think my favorite moment was the point where Bria and Mandisa were talking on the Black Non-Believers panel, Support the Ones Who Are Doing the Work, where they were actually able, for one of the first times that I've seen, to really talk about grievances with the movement in public, to not feel like they had to couch everything and be extra super polite and all of that. And I just had a realization of how much really has changed over the last several years, that they can do that. And it's not that they're not, you know, going to get some pushback for that kind of thing. But they're independent of that in a lot of ways now. And there are spaces that will specifically support them being able to talk about the problems within the movement with an eye to fixing it, not just talking about it, but talking about it with an eye to fixing it. And for all that they were complaining, it made me feel kind of warm and fuzzy.
I thought there were a lot of warm and fuzzy moments in the growing up in the movement panel. Debbie is always lovely to listen to. I was very pleased that Talon got to expound emotionally. It was also great talking to Talon in the AfterCon Steven Universe panel, but I mean, obviously I'm going to mention that as my own personal favorite because, you know.
Similar to Stephanie's note, just listening to Bria and Greta be 100% done with all the shit was fantastic.
I appreciated the diversity of topics that were available. Like, there was a lot of topics that one wouldn't necessarily expect to all be in the same place for any event but OrbitCon, and having all of those things in a single event spread over a few days was amazing. And likewise, a lot of things that a big conference with, you know, butts in seats all in one room might not have bothered with, but were still worth doing, and they got done, and it was very nice to see that.
See, one of the things I found really interesting was the trends in secular community groups with Debbie Goddard, Steph McGraw, Manette, Jennifer, Debbie, Punchy. Things they were talking about is something that's been concerning me lately. I mean, I run this Cafe Scientifique in Morris, and it's been a struggle to get, you know, the townies to show up for this. We get great attendance from the old graybeards at the university, but, you know, we don't get the townies in. And they were making the point that, you know, in their groups, they're seeing the shift away from the philosophy salon type of talk to a more activist, interactive sort of thing. And I've been thinking along the same lines that I've got to change our cafe to be something more interactive, and it just reinforced my personal prejudices. So that's perfect. That's what I'm looking for. But anyway, they gave me lots of ideas that I'm going to be thinking about next year when I'm on sabbatical. I'm going to be running this.
Alex, were you going to add something?
Yeah. First of all, I'm noticing that I'm coming through, but I'm not on the big screen. Or am I
You
for
are.
other people? I am.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Because I'm seeing you, which is lovely always, but it's just slightly confusing. Good. Oh well. So I should probably say up front that I'm still working my way through the different sessions. I haven't watched most of them live because I live in a country that is on a different part of the planet, annoyingly. So caveat to all of this is that I haven't seen most of them. Having said that, and in particular to Alyssa, because she's here, the Diaspora Atheism panel was really, really good and valuable and relatable to me.
I'm so glad to hear that.
Were you worried it wasn't going to be?
I haven't yet reached the point where I'm not surprised when people praise me directly.
That's just imposter syndrome. We all have it.
Yeah, no, that was.
Went well.
Yeah, I would second that. I really like the diaspora panel was really powerful, and I got a lot of good insight from it. And it's like this is stuff that I've been paying attention to and reading about and listening to people talk about for a long time. But it was sort of this reminder. There's always more to learn. There's always, and I definitely got a lot out of it. Stephanie, I should also say I really got a lot out of the panel on putting on a conference. That's something that Chris Hall and I at Godless Perverts in San Francisco periodically talk about, and it was both really daunting, like, oh my God, this is so much work and so much money, and is this ever something that we're going to really want to do? And yet the fact that everybody who has done it has said, oh yeah, it's a great experience, and I totally would do it again, was sort of both informative, so I feel like if this is ever something that we do, we'll be prepared for, but also, encouraging. So, and the Steven Universe panel was so cool. It was so awesome. It was so much fun. And, it was just a really nice way to end off that day.
Try to include more squee actually on the next con, I guess. But I was happy to not only get a chance to talk to Benny and Talon, both of them are every bit as big and more so of fans of Steven Universe, so it was just grand to be corrected by people in the know on things I was wrong about.
All right. You know what? If we stop it here, we're ending on a really positive note.
Mm-hmm.
This is true.
I don't feel like I have anything to add, by way of organizing an ending to this conference. But that seems like a good place to just kind of stop.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're going to do that.
Okay, go do it again. Run another one.
We're going to wait a little bit, but yes.
A week, 2 weeks.
Let's make it a bi-decade-ly thing.
Wait, is that every 2 decades or twice per decade?
I'm not sure.
So we'll let you know when the next one is once we figure that out.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
All right.
Every decade.
Thanks, everybody, and thanks for everybody watching.
Mhm.